back to my channel. So, in today's video, like I said on my first video, I'm gonna talk about all the books I've read so far in 2021. The first book I finished this year, I actually started in December of 2020, and it was Time of Contempt from the Witcher series. As I said on the last video, I started reading this series. It was actually what got me into reading again, and I've been slowly getting through these books. It says number 2 because there are 2 collections of short stories first, so it's the 4th book of the series. And so, I'm not gonna get into what it talks about because it would just spoil everything that has been talked about before. But I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I read, I actually don't have with me because it was my friend's and I borrowed it.
Okay, so here I was trying to explain something, but I made it sound way more complicated than it had to be, so let's just try that again. Basically, I read my friend's book, right? Okay, my friend's Brazilian, so I read the Brazilian version of the book, which was this one. And I was saying that I didn't remember the original title. And then I said, oh, I also don't know if like the title in Portugal, because usually things have different names in Portugal and Brazil. And then, I never looked it up, like the title in Portugal, but anyway, this was the original title.
This book is about, well, a girl who was taken. And, she went missing, and her sister is then trying to figure out what happened to her. And, well, it was a mystery thriller, and I love those types of books, and I love that book as well, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Next, I read I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and this book was something. So, this book is about a guy who takes a trip with his girlfriend to his parents' house. The girlfriend's name is never revealed, even though, she's the one telling the story, in first person. She's talking about taking this trip with her boyfriend to his parents' house. And it was so creepy. The atmosphere of this book, it was so creepy, and I was reading it at 2 a.m. I know I finished reading at 4 a.m. and I was like, maybe this was not the right time to read this book. Because it was really creepy. And the ending, oh my god, it kind of blew my mind. And yeah, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was The Shining. Me, a horror fan, had never read The Shining. So, well, this is probably gonna be a bit controversial, but I did not love this book. I was reading it on the weekend after my birthday, so I was actually with my roommate. We were both reading in my bed, and I kept telling her, oh, it's getting interesting. And I would be like, never mind, nothing's happening again. And then I'd be like, oh, it's getting interesting. And I'd be like, never mind, no, it's not. So yeah, I think that was the problem of the book for me. It had a lot of nothing happening, and I wouldn't mind reading about the characters' lives if they were interesting. And I've read a lot of people saying this about Stephen King, and I agree. He writes a lot. He needs to stop writing at some points. In the scenes that something did happen, I love those scenes, I love scenes where there was action. That's why I kept telling my friend, oh, it's getting interesting. So, yeah, I love the scenes where there was action. I really didn't like the scenes where there wasn't action, so it was, a little middle of the road for me, and yeah, I gave it 3 stars. However, next I read The Troop by Nick Cutter, and I love this one. So this is about a group of boys and their scoutmaster who were on an island, a desolate island in the Canadian wilderness, as it says on the back. And this guy just arrived at the island saying he was so hungry, and he just wanted to be fed. He just started eating everything, and I don't mean food, I mean everything. And it was really creepy. It was really scary, and the thought of just having things inside of you, yeah, it was really creepy, and I loved it. I gave this one 5 stars. Next, I read Gyo, I don't really know how to say it, by Junji Ito. It was my first manga, and I found it very interesting. It wasn't as scary, like as horror as I was expecting, but I still really liked it, and I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Children of Dune by Frank Herbert, because this series of books, Dune series, I also started last year on 2020, and I read Dune and Dune Messiah last year. So yeah, I read Children of Dune. I still enjoyed it, although I didn't enjoy it as much as the other 2 books, because there wasn't as much action. There was a lot of discussions, and although the discussions were interesting, I also want some action in my books, clearly, because they don't love The Shining. So yeah, I didn't love it as much, but I still gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Baptism of Fire, also in the Witcher series. It was the book after Time of Content. And they also loved, like I loved this one more than the others, because there was a lot of Geralt and Dandelion, or Jaskier, however you want to call him, because he's Jaskier on the show, he's Dandelion in the books. I call him Jaskier, even when I'm like reading the books. If I want to talk to my friends about it, I'll say Jaskier, because you know, he's just Jaskier to me. And yeah, there was a lot of them, and a lot of banter between them, and I love them. I love their dynamic, so I gave this one 5 stars. Then I read Let the Devil Sleep by John Verton. This is the 3rd book I've read from this author. They all follow the same detective. And in this one, the detective is approached by a girl who is making a documentary about a serial killer, like a case that has never been solved. And as the detective is helping this girl, he gets kind of sucked into the case, and you know, he tries to solve it again, then some new murders happen, and yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun with this book, but I didn't love it as much as the other 2. Can't really say what I didn't love as much, but I didn't love this book as much as the others, but I still really enjoyed it, so I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Dowdy. This was a non-fiction book about a woman who worked at a crematory, and I loved this book. So I don't think I've mentioned it, but I'm getting my master's degree on forensic science, and like I would listen to this audiobook on my way to the National Institute of Forensic Science, so it was kind of fitting, you know, and I mean, I love this book. I absolutely love it, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I read Shadow and Bone. Yeah, I have never read Shadow and Bone. Like I said in my last video, there are a lot of popular books I haven't read, and like I wanted to read the series because there was a TV show coming out, and my goal was to like read Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising, and then like Six of Crows, and the other book I can't remember the name of, before the TV show came out. Did I succeed? Absolutely not. But you know, I tried. And then, I mean, I still plan on reading them before watching the show, but I didn't succeed on reading them before the show came out, that's for sure. Yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't really love the main character. I mean, didn't hate it either. I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Remote Control, which was a short story. I really enjoyed it. It was about a girl who was somehow associated with death, and no one really knew how, and I mean, we didn't really ever figure out exactly what happened, and I'm not going to say anything else because it was a short story and I would spoil everything, but I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I read Siege and Storm, still trying to read all of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I like this one better than the first, that's for sure. And I gave it 4 stars. Then I started reading yet another popular series, and I read City of Bones. Last year I actually read Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess, because I mean, like chronologically, it's the first story. Also, like I read it, there wasn't a problem starting there, so I read those. And this year I read City of Bones, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I was anticipating. because I mean I had seen some reviews that wasn't so good, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Then I started another series. This is me not knowing how to commit to something. I started a lot of things. I read Truly Devious, which is like a mystery thriller. So there was this girl who was really into solving mysteries, and she goes into this like really prestigious school where there had been a murder like many years prior, and she really thinks she's gonna solve it. And then while she's there was another murder. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed it, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I read a romance. I never read romance. Like, romance is not really my thing. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that I'm like the least romantic person ever. So, I mean, it's really not my thing. But, I mean, I don't mind romance in other books. Like, I don't mind reading a fantasy with romance or a science fiction with romance or any kind of book with romance. But when it's just romance, it's really not my thing. But everyone was like crazy about Get a Life Playground and the other books in the series. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. And it wasn't as bad as I anticipated. I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't love it, but that's not the book's fault, it's mine, because, you know, it's not my thing. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I read City of Ashes, you know, continuing on my journey, and I also loved that one. Like, I really loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I read The Power by Naomi Alderman. I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. I know there was kind of a bit like all over the place, especially the ending is like very rushed. But I don't really rate books based on how objectively good they are. I rate them on like my level of enjoyment, and actually, like, I had a great time reading that book. So I gave it 4 stars. Then I read The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I'm so sorry, my Spanish accent really sucks. So I was trying to find the audiobook, right? And I could only find the audiobook and also the ebook in Spanish. And I thought, you know what, why not? Because I mean, I don't speak Spanish, clearly, but I do understand Spanish. And I mean, I've never had classes, and I didn't understand like any Spanish at all when I was a kid, but then there was like a holiday we spent in Madrid, and like, I don't know, I suddenly understood Spanish. So yeah, now I understand Spanish. And yeah, I read the book in Spanish, I listened to the book in Spanish, and I loved it. I love that book. It was so good. Like, it was a little hard getting into. I don't know if it was because it was in Spanish and I wasn't, you know, my brain wasn't really tuned in on the Spanish, or the writing style was just hard, or if it was just me, which, you know, it's definitely a possibility. But once I got into it, I loved it. It was so, like, everything was so well connected, you know? Because at first there were just a lot of random people like talked about, and then everything came together, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. The last book I've read was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I actually finished reading that book yesterday, and I also really enjoyed it. This was a fantasy book, and as usual in fantasy, there were like a bunch of plot lines that in the end like all merged. And yeah, I really had a great time reading that book, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So today is the 26th of April when I'm filming this, and I am in the middle of a book right now, and I'm still probably gonna finish it. And if I do, I'll insert a clip right here. Okay, so I did finish that book I was in the middle of, and that was Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. And, well, when I first read what that book was about, I was actually really excited, because it was basically about a woman who was on her honeymoon, and like a man she had sex with on her bachelorette party showed up. I was like, okay, stalker, fun. Not that having a stalker in real life would be fun, but, you know, for a book, fun. And so, like, yeah, I was excited going into it. But then it turned into something completely different, and it really didn't work for me. But for some reason, I felt compelled to like keep reading, you know, like I actually got through that book really fast. And you know, it's like when people say that you can't look away from a car crash, that's what it felt like for me, because I wasn't enjoying it. I was pretty sure I wasn't gonna enjoy it in the end, but I couldn't stop reading. And for that reason, I gave it like an extra 0.5 stars. But yeah, it really didn't work for me, and it was probably like my least favorite book I've read this year so far. And yeah, I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. So I'm also going to talk about some of the books I plan on reading during May. So I definitely plan on reading Ruin and Rising to finish the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Like I definitely want to finish that. I don't know if I'll get to Six of Crows, but I would like to get to those. Also, I got this book. I read Amazonia by this author last year and I really liked it. So yeah, I got this one and I want to get to it during May. Also, I want to start reading the Wheel of Time series. This series is an epic fantasy series. It has 14 books which are around 800 or 900 or even 1,000 pages long. And yeah, I got the first one and I wanna at least start reading it during May. Then I don't have it here with me right now, but I got Dracula in like a local bookstore. It's in Portuguese actually. So yeah, I also wanna try to get to that. Also, there are some books like that I wanna read for book clubs, and there are four of those, which are The Burning Girls, The House on the Cerulean Sea, They Never Learn, and Everything I Never Told You. So yeah, those are my plans for May. I don't know if I'll get to all those books. I don't know if I'll get to some other books because commitment issues. But yeah, those are my plans. And I think this is everything for this video. So if you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye!